You can bury it, numb it, pretend it never happened. But it stays. That pain you swallowed, that memory you avoided, that identity you adopted just to survive. It doesn't disappear. It digests you from the inside out. Because you don't just carry your experiences, you become them. You don't just walk away from the past. You drag it like a rusted chain, link by link, into every conversation, every ambition, every silent night when no one is watching and your mind starts whispering again. You become what you refuse to release. And no amount of affirmations can save you from what you're still clinging to in the dark. You can't build a new life with hands that won't let go of the wreckage. You don't heal by holding on. You heal by bleeding out the lie that you are your mistakes. The lie that someone else's absence means you are unworthy. The lie that because they couldn't love you, no one ever will. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You can't conquer what you haven't seen. And most people never look deep enough. They distract, they consume, they keep themselves so endlessly occupied, chasing validation, collecting followers, building images, stacking trophies, because if they stop for even a second, the silence will speak. And the truth inside that silence, it terrifies them. But you can't outrun your shadow. You either face it or you serve it. Syphoria, that euphoric hollow high of pretending you're free when you're still in chains, that beautiful mask, the polished smile, the confident stride, all hiding a truth you're terrified to admit. You don't know who you are without the pain. You've worn it so long it became your skin. You learned to weaponize it, to defend yourself with sarcasm, perfectionism, silence, detachment tools, not of strength, but of survival. You call it personality, but it's armor. You call it independence, but it's abandonment in disguise. You call it peace, but it's exhaustion. And so the psyche splits, the self fractures, and you live a life where you smile while drowning, because to release what you're holding means losing the only version of you that ever felt safe. But here's the brutal, beautiful truth. If you want to become something greater, you must grieve the version of you that needed to survive. Because real evolution begins with loss. The loss of the lie, the loss of the illusion, the death of the identity you built to cope. Mindset, not the surface level cheerleading you find in self-help books. I'm talking about the deep structure of how you perceive reality. Because your mind is not a mirror, it's a filter. It doesn't reflect truth, it interprets it. And if that filter is cracked by trauma, by betrayal, by shame, then even love looks like manipulation. Even kindness feels unsafe. Even opportunity looks like a trap. You were not born to mistrust everything. You were trained to. You were programmed to survive, not to thrive. But survival is not a destiny. It's a season. And some of you have overstayed your welcome in the season of survival. You've decorated your prison cell and call it a home. But here's the challenge. Your old mindset can't carry the weight of your new future. The thoughts that kept you safe will now keep you small. And until you challenge the inner narrative, I'm not good enough, I always get hurt, I'll never make it, you will loop through the same life with different faces and names. Belief, it's not passive, it's a contract. What you believe, you build, not out there and here. Because belief doesn't shape the world, it shapes you. You don't believe what's true. You believe what feels familiar. And if pain is all you've known, pain will feel like home. That's why people sabotage their own joy. Because the mind prefers consistency over happiness. It would rather suffer predictably than thrive unpredictably. It clings to old beliefs like lifeboats on a sinking ship, even when those beliefs are what's drowning them. So you must ask, what have I agreed to that is no longer true? Whose voice still echoes in my mind as if it were my own? And more importantly, am I willing to betray who I was, to become who I could be? Because letting go isn't passive. It's an act of war against the identity that was built in fear, clarity. Most people don't lack potential, they lack clarity. They think they're stuck, but they're actually distracted. They think they're lost, but they're really just afraid of choosing. Because when you don't choose a direction, you can't fail. When you keep it vague, you don't have to commit. And when you don't commit, you never risk disappointment. But without clarity, your energy is fragmented. Your passion is diluted. Your power is wasted on the peripheral. Clarity demands you burn the fog, that you sit alone long enough to remember what your own voice sounds like, that you stop borrowing dreams from your parents, your culture, your algorithm, and instead you ask the question no one asks anymore. What do I want that doesn't come from my pain? Because until you answer that, you'll build towers in deserts that don't belong to you. You'll succeed in the wrong story. You'll achieve and still feel empty. Clarity is brutal. It requires honesty. And most people would rather stay confused and confront the truth that they've been loyal to suffering, faithful to a version of themselves they've outgrown. Vision. Vision isn't about seeing the future. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be, before the mask, before the silence, before the heartbreak that made you forget your name. Vision isn't fantasy. It's memory, the memory of your most honest self, buried under performance, perfectionism, and pretending. And when that memory returns, even as a flicker, you must chase it, like your soul depends on it, because it does. Most people don't fail because they aim too high. They fail because they aim at nothing. They exist on autopilot, reacting instead of creating, drifting instead of deciding. And when they look up, years have passed. But nothing real has changed. Don't let that be you. Discipline. The word sounds harsh, like punishment. But real discipline isn't about restriction. It's about liberation. Discipline is choosing yourself in moments when the world tempts you to disappear. It's the daily rebellion against your excuses. It's the sacred ritual of saying, I am becoming who I said I would become, even when no one is watching, even when it's hard, even when your past is screaming for you to cave. Because without discipline, desire is useless. Without discipline, vision dies in the mouth of temptation. Discipline is not about grinding yourself into the ground. It's about aligning your energy with your becoming. It's the quiet, relentless practice of embodiment, of acting like the person you're becoming already exists. Most people are waiting to feel ready, to feel healed, to feel inspired. But readiness is a myth. Inspiration is a luxury. And healing, real healing, begins after the action, not before it. So stop negotiating with your lesser self. That version of you who wants comfort more than growth, that's the ghost of your limitations. It will bargain. It will beg. It will tell you, just this once, you deserve a break. No one else is trying this hard. But discipline doesn't argue. Discipline decides. And decision is what separates the seekers from the builders. Action. Nothing changes until you do. And nothing within you changes until you move. This world doesn't respond to your intentions. It responds to your execution. You say you want clarity? Act. You say you want to be confident? Act. You say you want respect, results, freedom? You better be moving like your life depends on it. Because it does. Action rewires the brain. It interrupts the loop of overthinking. It breaks the trance of doubt. You don't need another book. You don't need another podcast. You don't need another month to get things in order. You need to walk into the fire, to press publish before you feel ready, to make the call, set the boundary, change the room, not because it's perfect, but because it's true. There is no perfect moment. There is only now. And the now is sacred. The now is where your identity dies and reforms over and over again, until action becomes instinct, not effort. Resilience. They won't teach you this in school. They'll give you metrics. They'll hand you grades and praise your obedience. But resilience? Resilience is forged in the fire of what they never prepared you for. The heartbreaks, the betrayals, the nights you cry so quietly that even the walls forget your name. Resilience is not about bouncing back. It's about building back differently. It's about taking the shattered pieces and refusing to make the same shape again. It's not getting over it. It's reconstructing yourself with deeper roots, sharper discernment, a soul that knows how to stay standing in the middle of collapse. You don't become resilient by avoiding pain. You become resilient by facing it with dignity. You sit with the fire and say, burn what must burn, but leave the truth. And the truth, you are not fragile. You are not broken. You are becoming refined. The storms weren't sent to destroy you. They were sent to show you who you are when everything else is stripped away. Gratitude, not the performative kind, not the write 3 things in a journal and post it on Instagram kind. Real gratitude, the kind that wakes you up in the middle of the night and floods you with tears because you're still here, because something inside you refused to die. Gratitude is rebellion in a world addicted to comparison. It's saying, I may not have everything I want yet, but I refuse to insult the miracle of what I do have. It's finding beauty in the scar. It's kissing the hand that hurt you because it also taught you. It's bowing to the version of yourself that crawled so you could rise. Gratitude doesn't mean you settle. It means you honor the path, even the brutal parts, especially the brutal parts, because gratitude transforms bitterness into wisdom. And once you understand this, you stop asking, why me? And you start asking, what is this making me? Adaptability. You were not built to stay the same. You were built to evolve. Adaptability isn't weakness. It's intelligence. It's the warrior's instinct to sense when the path has shifted and shift with it. The rigid break, the flexible bend. And while others complain, collapse, or cling to the old world, you pivot, you listen, you become, because evolution doesn't ask for your permission. It demands your participation. And if you are still trying to fit into an identity, a system, a relationship that your soul has outgrown, then life will keep turning up the pressure until you snap or surrender. Adaptability is not about abandoning your values. It's about updating your alignment. It's saying, this version of me served a purpose, but I will not stay loyal to who I was just because I'm afraid of who I could be. The world will keep changing. So should you. Learning. The mind that refuses to learn is already dying. Not physically, but spiritually. You don't grow old when your skin wrinkles. You grow old the moment you think you know enough. Learning is how you live, not just academically, but emotionally, spiritually, relationally. Learn from the mentor, the mistake, the enemy. Learn from the way a child trusts. Learn from the silence between your thoughts, because every moment carries a lesson, and every lesson you refuse to learn will become a pattern that repeats again and again and again until you wake up. You don't need more answers. You need deeper questions and the courage to sit inside the unknown without reaching for distraction. Carl Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But becoming requires unlearning, and unlearning requires humility. The humility to admit, I was wrong. I didn't know better. But I am willing to see now. Keep learning, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts, because that's how you reclaim your life. One realization at a time. Purpose, not the kind they sell you in 5-step guides, not the version painted in perfect aesthetics and tidy life plans. Real purpose is messy. It's violent in how it demands your full surrender. Because purpose is not something you find. It's something you become. You don't choose it with your mind. It chooses you through your wounds. It rises from the ashes of what you've survived. It speaks in the language of your pain. It calls you to alchemize what once tried to kill you into something that gives life. And purpose is not polite. It won't let you rest in mediocrity. It won't let you sleep through your calling. It will haunt you until you move. You can run from it. You can distract yourself with comfort, convenience, consumption. But purpose will wait. It will outlast your excuses. Because your soul already knows what your mind is afraid to remember. You are not here to fit in. You are here to set fire to the lie that you were ever meant to be average. Your purpose is in the tension, where your fear meets your gift, where your silence aches to be broken, where your soul remembers what it's here to do, not for applause, but for alignment. Not to be seen, but to see clearly. And when you find it, when it finally lands in your chest like a burning truth you can't unknow, everything changes. Because now you're dangerous. Not because you're perfect, but because you remembered. And a person who remembers their purpose is no longer controllable. Conviction. Conviction is the fire that doesn't ask permission. It doesn't knock politely. It erupts. It doesn't wait for you to be certain. It moves through you because it must. Conviction isn't something you speak. It's something you embody. It's in the way you walk into a room and no longer ask for permission to exist. It's in the tone of your voice when you finally stop apologizing for needing what you need. Conviction doesn't need consensus. It doesn't beg for understanding. Because when you have it, people feel you before you say a word. But don't get it confused. Conviction isn't arrogance. It's the death of self-doubt. It's what rises when you've been shattered, silenced, stripped bare, and you decide to stand anyway. Not in defiance, but in truth, because you finally realized that nobody was coming to rescue you. And maybe that's what saved you. Sovereignty. There is a moment, quiet, sacred, where you realize you owe no one your silence. You owe no one your shrinking. You owe no one your suffering in the name of being easy to love. And in that moment, you become sovereign, not cold, not cruel, but clear. Sovereignty is the reclamation of your energy. It's knowing the difference between being open and being exposed. It's knowing that boundaries are not walls, they are honor codes. It's saying, I don't need you to agree with my worth. I know it. It's not about dominating others. It's about refusing to be dominated by the parts of yourself that once needed approval to breathe. This world trains you to outsource your power to social media, to relationships, to titles, trophies, and temporary praise. But sovereignty is the quiet decision to reclaim it, to hold it within, to walk as if your value is undeniable, because it is. And once you taste that level of self-ownership, you never go back. Transcendence. You were never meant to stay who you are. You were meant to surpass it. But you cannot transcend what you still cling to. You cannot ascend while dragging the weight of your old identity. The guilt, the roles, the stories that were never yours. To transcend is to release. And release is a kind of death, but not the kind you should fear. Because on the other side of that death is liberation. You don't rise by adding more. You rise by letting go of who you were told to be, of who you became to survive, of what they said you had to carry in order to be loved. And in that sacred emptiness, that space after the letting go and before the arrival, something ancient returns to you. Your original power, your wild knowing, your divine indifference to the illusions of control. And you remember, you were never meant to beg for crumbs when you were built to create kingdoms. The climb is not easy. God knows there will be days when it feels like no one sees you, when your progress is invisible, when the silence mocks your effort, when the voices return and ask, who do you think you are? But you'll keep climbing, not because it's glamorous, not because it's guaranteed, but because you must, because there is something sacred on the other side of the climb. And it's you, the real you, the remembered you, the one who was buried beneath too much and not enough and every scar that taught you to hide. You don't become powerful by accident. You become powerful by shedding, by breaking, by burning the scripts that told you to be quiet and obedient. You become powerful when you look your old life in the face and say, I'm done surviving. I came here to live, the becoming. You become what you refuse to let go of. So let go of the shame, let go of the guilt, let go of the old identities written by people who never even saw you. Let go of the story that began in fear and ended in silence. Let go of being the villain in your own life. And if you must cling to something, cling to your becoming. Cling to your fire. Cling to the version of you that doesn't settle, doesn't shrink, doesn't wait for validation to move. Because once you let go, you rise. You return. You remember. And the world will try to pull you back. But you smile. Because now you know. You become what you refuse to let go of. So let go and become